All right, strap in, everybody. We're going deep today. Like, really deep.
Deeper than the Marianas Trench.
Uh-huh. Even deeper. I'm talking about the depths of human existence. We're diving into Andy Weir's mind-bending short story, The Egg, and then we're going to see if any of it lines up with the ideas from the Law of One.
Ah, yes, the egg. It's a real head-scratcher, isn't it?
Big time.
Yeah.
Have you ever wondered, like really wondered, if maybe every single person who ever lived is just a different version of the same soul?
Well, yeah, I mean, the egg kind of throws that idea out there.
Right. Like, what if we're all just one giant soul playing cosmic dress-up, trying to become, well, a god?
It's a wild concept for sure. I mean, in the story, you die, meet this all-knowing being, and boom, suddenly you realize you've been every single person.
Right. You've been Gandhi, you've been Hitler, you've been that guy who cut you off in traffic this morning, the whole shebang.
Talk about an identity crisis.
Exactly. But there's this one question that the story asks that really stuck with me. The question is, why?
Why what?
Why go through all this? What's the point of this whole elaborate charade of life after life after life?
Well, that's where the Law of One might come in. It's a collection of messages that were supposedly channeled back in the 80s by a woman named Carla Ruckert.
Channeled, huh? So we're dealing with some, let's say, unusual source material for this deep dive.
Yeah, you could say that. The messages claim to be from an extraterrestrial being named Ra, a humble messenger is what they call themselves, sharing universal truths and all that.
So, a bit out there. But, okay, I'm game. Where do we even begin to unpack this?
Well, if we want to try to answer that why from the egg, we might want to start with the idea of reincarnation.
Reincarnation. That's a big one, right? And the Law of One talks a lot about that, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah. It's a core concept. Basically, Ra says that we're all born into this world, which they call third density, to learn and help our souls evolve. We do this over many, many lifetimes.
Okay, so life is like a giant soul school, and we're all just trying to pass our classes. But, like, if that's the case, why don't we remember any of it?
Well, that's where things get even more interesting. The Law of One talks about something called the veil of forgetting.
The veil of forgetting. What is that? Like a cosmic curtain.
Pretty much. Ra says that the reason we don't remember our past lives is to ensure that we have free will.
Interesting. So it's like if we knew all our past mistakes, we might be too afraid to make new ones or try new things.
Exactly. And it's not just about the mistakes. It's about allowing for genuine growth. You know, like if we knew the whole story of our lives in advance, would we really be able to learn and grow?
I guess not. It'd be like reading the last page of a book first. Kind of ruins the suspense.
Right. And that's why we come into each life with this veil over our past experiences.
Okay, so we're basically thrown into this world blind, fumbling around, making choices, and hoping they're the right ones for our soul's evolution. Kind of a lot of pressure, if you ask me. What if we mess up? What if we keep making the same mistakes over and over?
Well, about that, things get even more interesting. The Law of One describes 8 different densities of consciousness, and each one represents a higher level of spiritual evolution. Think of it like a ladder, climbing up to greater understanding.
The ladder of consciousness. Okay, I like that. So could that godlike being in the egg be like an entity from a higher density? Like that's where we're all headed eventually?
Possibly. And according to the Law of One, Earth is actually moving towards a higher density right now. They call it fourth density. It's supposed to be a shift toward more love and understanding.
More love and understanding, huh? So things are going to get all lovey-dovey.
Mm-hmm.
But, okay, let's say I buy all this. We're all part of this grand cosmic evolution, climbing the ladder, trying to evolve. But what determines whether we move up? Like, is there a cosmic GPA we need to maintain?
That's where the Law of One brings in this really key concept. Service to others versus service to self. And this idea, it kind of lines up with the whole morality thing in the egg, where your actions seem to determine what kind of god you become.
So service to others, service to self. It's like this cosmic fork in the road, and every choice we make kind of pushes us down one path or the other. But how does that actually work? Are we talking like keeping a tally of good deeds and selfish acts?
It's a little more nuanced than that. The Law of One talks about how everything we do, all our actions, and even our thoughts, create this kind of spiritual energy. They call it a vibration. And the actions that are more service to others, those create a higher, more harmonious vibration.
Okay, I'm following so far. High vibes, good.
Right. But the service to self actions, those create a denser kind of discordant energy.
Like bad vibes. Got it. But is it really just about being a saint versus a sinner?
No, it's not so black and white. It's more about the overall direction of your energy, like what's
Yeah.
motivating you.
Okay, so it's less about the specific action itself and more about the intention behind it. Like if I help someone out just to get praise or recognition, that's not really service to others, is it?
Exactly. And these choices, these vibrations, they accumulate over lifetimes. They influence our spiritual growth and they determine our, well, Ra calls it the harvest.
The harvest, what's that?
Basically, it's whether we graduate to a higher density of consciousness.
Pass or fail, huh?
Yeah.
So if we don't make the grade, we're stuck repeating third density.
Kind of like summer school for the soul. But here's the thing, and this has always kind of bugged me. You said earlier that neither path is better, but like, if service to others leads to a higher vibration, and that's how we get harvested to a higher density, then isn't that the better path?
That's a really good point. It's a common misconception, actually. The law of one is very clear that both paths are totally valid. They're both expressions of the creator. They just have different focuses and different, well, outcomes.
Okay. So maybe it's like choosing to major in different subjects, right? Like
Yeah.
you can major in physics or you can major in art history. Both paths lead to a degree, but you'll learn different things and end up in different careers. That's a great analogy. Both paths contribute to the grand scheme of things, even if they lead to different destinations.
Gotcha. So no judgment either way.
Yeah.
But let me ask you this. Remember that part in the egg where the God being tells you you're about to be born? What if that birth is actually the transition to a higher density?
Whoa, that's a mind-blowing thought. And what if, when that happens, the veil of forgetting is lifted? Imagine suddenly remembering every single life you've ever lived. All the joy, all the pain, all the choices, everything.
I think my head would explode. But would we judge those past selves? Like, would we be proud of some and, I don't know, embarrassed by others?
Maybe, but maybe we'd see it all as part of this much larger journey. Like every experience, good or bad, was necessary to become who we are now.
It's a lot to wrap your head around, that's for sure. But it's also kind of humbling, isn't it? Knowing that every single choice we make, no matter how small, has these ripple effects that echo through time.
Yeah, and it's not just affecting us, it's affecting everyone else too. It makes the whole idea of karma a lot more profound, don't you think?
For sure. It's not just about some cosmic scoreboard keeping track of good and bad. It's about understanding that we're all connected and everything we do matters. But let's go back to this idea of becoming more like the creator. I mean, what does that even look like? Especially in those higher densities.
That's where things get, well, they get a little more abstract, a little harder to grasp from where we are now.
Yeah, no kidding. But give it a shot. What do we know?
Well, the Law of One talks about how the limitations of individuality start to fade away as we move up the densities.
Wait, so we're not all just individual eggs trying to become separate gods?
It seems like there's this merging, a blending of consciousness that happens. The separation between self and other becomes less clear, and we experience this incredible unity.
Whoa. So it's like a cosmic hive mind,
Mm-hmm.
but one that's focused on love, not control.
Exactly. It challenges everything we think we know about individuality and free will. But imagine being able to experience the universe through the eyes of countless souls, to feel this profound interconnectedness with everything.
It'd be like a symphony of consciousness, right?
Yeah.
Everyone contributing their unique melody to this grand cosmic orchestra. But here's a question. If we're all merging into this unified consciousness, what happens to all our individual experiences? Do they just disappear?
That's a great question. And honestly, the Law of One doesn't give us a definitive answer, but it does suggest that those individual experiences, those unique perspectives, they're essential to the creator's understanding of itself.
Okay, so it's like the creator is experiencing the universe through us, through all the different souls, and all our stories, all our joys and struggles, they become part of this grand cosmic narrative.
Right. And maybe that's the whole point of the egg, to nurture those diverse experiences until we're ready to blend back into this greater, unified expression of the creator.
That's a beautiful thought. It makes me wonder about the whole idea of time in those higher densities. Like if everything's interconnected and we're existing at all levels simultaneously, does time even exist the way we think it does? All right, welcome back to the show, everyone. We've been on quite the trip, haven't we? Talking about reincarnation, higher densities, the creator.
It's a lot to take in.
It is.
Yeah.
But now I kind of want to bring things back down to earth, like how do we actually live all of this?
You mean, how do we take these cosmic ideas from the egg and the Law of One and actually apply them to our, well, our normal everyday lives?
Exactly, because it's easy to get all caught up in the wow factor.
Yeah.
But I want to know what it really looks like to put these principles into action. Do we got to meditate for hours or move to a monastery or something?
Uh-huh. Not necessarily. I mean, the Law of One talks about how spiritual growth can actually happen in the most ordinary moments of life. It's about the little things, how we treat each other, the choices we make, even our thoughts. Those tiny actions, they can make a huge difference over time.
So we don't need to make these massive life changes. It's more about just being mindful and intentional in those small, everyday moments.
Exactly. Remember that idea of catalyst we were talking about, those challenges and experiences that push us to grow?
Yeah, like that rush hour traffic jam that makes me want to scream.
Well, maybe. But the point is, those catalysts are everywhere. In every interaction, every obstacle, every curveball life throws at you.
Okay, so even that coworker who always steals my lunch from the fridge.
Hmm.
Maybe they're actually my secret spiritual teacher.
Maybe, maybe not. But the point is to look at those everyday annoyances differently. What if, instead of seeing them as problems, we saw them as opportunities?
Opportunities for what?
Opportunities to practice patience, to choose kindness, to understand another person's perspective. It's about how you respond, not about what happens to you.
Okay, I can see that. It's like taking a breath and choosing to be kind instead of getting all worked up. But honestly, what about those times when we're really struggling? You know, those days when you just feel weighed down by all the negativity? What can we do then?
Well, meditation can be really helpful for raising your vibration, for sure. But if that's not your thing, even small acts of kindness can make a huge difference.
Like what? Give me some examples.
Smiling at someone, holding the door open, donating to a charity, even just offering a genuine compliment. These little things, they might not seem like much, but they send out these ripples of positive energy.
Yeah, it's like that saying, be the change you want to see in the world. I
Right.
mean, we don't have to wait around for some big opportunity to make a difference. We can start right now just by being a little kinder, a little more compassionate.
Exactly. And remember, it's not about getting something back in return. It's about acting from a place of love and wanting to help. That's what really matters.
That makes sense. You know, something I've been thinking about is this whole idea of accepting our limitations. The law of one says that they're not flaws, but actually opportunities for growth, which is kind of a weird way to look at it, don't you think?
It is, especially in our culture where everyone's supposed to be perfect and successful all the time.
Yeah, like we're supposed to be these superhumans who never make mistakes and always know the right answer.
But the law of one suggests that our limitations, our weaknesses, they can actually be our greatest teachers. They can help us learn humility, compassion, acceptance.
So, like, instead of beating myself up for being a terrible cook, I should see it as a chance to learn patience and laugh at myself a little.
Exactly. It's about embracing those imperfections, seeing the beauty in the wabi-sabi of life.
Wabi sabi. I like that. But okay, let's talk relationships because things get complicated when you throw other people into the mix, right?
Hmm.
How do we navigate all that through the lens of the egg and the law of one?
Well, those teachings tell us that every relationship, even the tough ones, is an opportunity for growth. It's about seeing that spark of divinity in each other, even when it's hidden under all the ego and pain and baggage.
So even my super judgmental aunt who always criticizes my life choices,
Mm.
she's still got that divine spark.
She does.
Hmm.
And it's not about saying her behavior is okay. It's about choosing how you respond. You can set boundaries, you can practice compassion, you can try to understand where she's coming from.
Okay, that's tough, but I see what you mean. It's about remembering that everyone's fighting their own battles, even if we don't always see them.
And forgiveness is so important. Holding on to anger and resentment, it just brings you down and keeps you stuck.
So letting go of those negative emotions makes space for love and compassion to flow through us.
Exactly. And that's really the heart of it all, isn't it? Both the egg and the law of one point to the power of love. Seeing our interconnectedness, recognizing the divine in ourselves and everyone around us, and making choices that bring more harmony and love into the world.
It's a beautiful vision, and it really does give me hope. It's been an amazing journey exploring all these ideas with you. Thanks for sharing your insights.
It's been my pleasure. And to everyone listening, I hope this deep dive has inspired you to keep seeking, keep questioning, and keep evolving.
Absolutely. And until next time, keep exploring those big questions. And remember, we're all in this cosmic dance together.